Hey everyone, Tommy Khan here with your Fox 10 News Now update. Happy Tuesday afternoon. It's Christmas Eve. Eve is what they're calling it on the internet. Good luck to all of you guys who still are trying to get those last minute gifts in. I'm not judging. Procrastinators unite. Get that shopping done. It's going to be crazy out there, whether you're at the mall or at your Target or whatever, and get those gifts purchased. We have a lot of news to talk about today. I've updated our top 5 stories. None of them really are repeats from this morning, meaning I have a brand new news for you guys. These are some of our stories. This last one, I'm actually going to show you a video of Arizona Cardinals players delivering teddy bears to young children in the hospital. That will touch your heart. This one right here, Miss Colombia's Instagram page, very controversial after her loss during the Miss Universe pageant on Sunday. You may have heard that Steve Harvey accidentally named Miss Colombia as Miss Universe, even though it belonged to Miss Philippines. Well, after the fact, Miss Colombia did go to her Instagram page to post, and that's a topic that I'll be speaking about with Mike Page a little bit later on. Also, right here, Kentucky marriage licenses change. This is breaking news. I got some AP News alerts. And yes, this has to do with Kim Davis. Remember her and all the drama behind Kim Davis and her personal beliefs, her personal beliefs made it such that she was uncomfortable issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Remember Kim Davis? We covered her extensively here on News Now. She was in jail. We covered her release from jail. I'm going to go ahead and show you that picture from jail in Kentucky. Remember her? This is who I am talking about. As for the, I guess you could say breaking news, I think it's breaking news. The governor of Kentucky has ordered the state to prepare new marriage licenses that do not include the names of county clerks in an attempt to protect the religious beliefs of Kim Davis and other local elected officials. Now, in a news release today, the governor said he issued an executive order directing the Kentucky Department of Libraries and Archives to issue the revised marriage license form to all county clerks. Comes after Davis, the Rowan County clerk, spent 5 days in jail for refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. I'm going to go ahead and show you video now of the suspect involved in the crash on the Las Vegas Strip on Sunday night. That is the suspect, Lakeisha Holloway. Now, we have new information as of today. This morning, Lakeisha was formally charged. She faces murder charges as well as child abuse charges and a felony hit and run after authorities say she repeatedly plowed her vehicle into crowds on the Vegas Strip. So prosecutors have charged her with murder, child abuse, and felony hit and run. Again, she is being held in jail without bail. During that crash, one person was killed and dozens more were injured. She faces the child abuse charge because during the time of the incident, her 3-year-old child was in the vehicle with her. That child was not hurt during the incident and is now with the Child Protective Services. Now, the Clark County District Attorney has said that prosecutors are considering a great number of additional charges against Holloway. As you know, the crash killed 32-year-old Jessica Valenzuela, who is from right here in Buckeye, Arizona. And speaking of which, yesterday we showed you the GoFundMe page set up for Jessica Valenzuela. That same page has pictures of the victim with her husband, who watched her die at the scene. Really sad situation. Her husband was there in Vegas with her. It shows her with her husband, as well as pictures of her with her 3 children. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that GoFundMe page again for you. We can see how much has been raised in the last few days. Oops. There we go. 32,196. Jessica Valenzuela right there, killed by that drunk driver. Now back to the charges that Holloway faces. According to the defense attorney, it is unclear, it's rather too soon to say if the driver's mental health condition will become a part of her defense. The public defender said today that Lakeisha Holloway hasn't had a psychiatric evaluation, and he hasn't seen police reports yet about Sunday's crash. Again, according to police, 24-year-old Holloway is on suicide watch in jail. She is due in court Wednesday to face charges of murder, felony hit and run, and child abuse and neglect. Again, due in court tomorrow. According to the public defender, Holloway's plan is to plead not guilty, and the public defender described the crash as shocking and tragic and expressed sympathy for the victims and their family. And moving on to our other story right here at the top of your top 5. This terror attack that was thwarted. Let me go ahead and pull up an map image of exactly where that terror attack was planned. This is Orleans, France. Right there. Now, French authorities say they thwarted an attack last week in an area near the central French city of Orleans. The country's interior minister says the planned attack targeted soldiers, police, and others, and that 2 French citizens have been arrested. He said that the 2 were in contact with a French jihadi in Syria. So there's Orleans, there's Paris. So you can see it's south of Paris. This is where an attack was planned. However, thanks to officials, that attack was thwarted. Now, we are going to get to bullet point number 5, Cardinals teddy bear delivery. This is raw video. It is just cut up in bits and pieces. So it is all raw, all authentic, and you guys will see what we shot just a few hours ago when the Arizona Cardinals players made those teddy bear deliveries. And the Arizona Cardinals football club's annual Teddy Bear Express involves players, cheerleaders, the mascot, the Cardinals women's club, and front office personnel. They made their annual holiday visit to the Phoenix Children's Hospital this morning. Now, the group from the Cardinals delivered teddy bears to children in the pediatric units throughout the hospital. The uniform bears are personalized, each wearing a white jersey.
I'm going to look from the door.
Yeah, the door doesn't open. Can you see him?
Can you see him? That's Barney. Hi. Yeah.
It's a deer-sized dog.
He came to say hi.
Just 10:13. Wing.
Well, happy late birthday. Are you excited for Christmas? Yeah.
Did you want me to sign anything for you? Send a dog? You want me to sign anything else?
I was going to say, are you prepared with a marker? Of course he is. He's always prepared with a marker. Yeah.
No, I know your favorite Cardinals, number 85 now, right?
Thank you so
Oh, no problem. Wish you the best. Merry Christmas.
Thanks. You too. Holidays.
What's your favorite game? What position? On both. Quarterback and football. What about baseball?
First base.
Are you the mother?
Awesome.
How old is it?
13.
How do you feel right
When I
now?
was 13.
It's pretty
A
cool.
long
Were you
time
expecting
ago.
this?
No. Well, I kind of knew, but it's cool. It's
What do you
really-
think about them coming here?
It's pretty cool. Really glad that they came here.
Have you ever met a famous football player before?
I wouldn't say famous, but
I think you're famous.
Not in person like this close, but
Not in person.
you know, I've been to the games and stuff. But I've never come this close.
Do you have a favorite now?
What?
Do you have a favorite football player now?
No, not really.
I'm pretty sure you have a different answer.
Can I ask you, like, do you have a favorite football player now?
Yeah.
What number is he?
85, I think, yeah. Probably.
I'm not gonna put that pressure on you. You can say Larry Fitzgerald. I won't be mad.
That's awesome.
But this one's special because it's the...
Glad we can put a smile on your face.
Yeah, I needed it.
Good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Have fun with Black Ops. Since Barney couldn't come in here and give this to you, he wanted to give this to you. I'm gonna have to give it to you. Get better. Hopefully one day you can actually pet him. He's like this big. He's a big dog.
He said thank you, Barney. Someday I'll scoop this.
You have to take
Hey Jose, how you doing? How you feeling? Feeling good? Brought you this bear. I want to wish you a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. You want me to sign it? Or do you have anything else you want me to sign instead of this?
Hi,
How old are you?
Jose.
18.
How are you? I'm Sarah. I cheer for the Cardinals. How's your day going? Good? Yeah? Can you spell your name for me?
K-O-S-E.
Alrighty, there you go, buddy.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How long you been here?
Maybe 2 weeks.
2 weeks? It's too long for me. Yeah.
You're 18? Oh, goodness.
So I know you just want to be out of here, just having fun, with friends. What do you do for fun? Play sports? No. Just hang out.
What do you and your friends do for fun?
Video.
Play what?
Well, NBA 2K.
Basketball.
What's your favorite team? The
Suns.
Nice.
Do you watch their games?
Cardinals.
Who's your favorite player?
Correct answer right there. Who's your favorite player?
You can say Larry
Larry
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
Okay.
I'm not going to do that. He's okay. I mean, it's not like he's anything special. But, you know. I didn't say that, Larry.
You said, yup, right? All right, Jose, we're going to go meet some other kids too, okay?
Okay.
Did you get a signature? Did you want Darren to sign it?
Of course you got to say.
You already did it? Okay.
All right, guys, that wraps up the video coverage that we had from the event. It looks like it is now just looping. Again, that was just the raw video that our photographer shot this morning. We were not able to stream it because some parents did not sign waivers allowing their children to be videotaped, so we were only able to show this to you after the taping was done, just to make sure we didn't get any kids that weren't supposed to be on camera. And guys, even though it is Christmas week, it doesn't mean everyone in DC is on vacation. In fact, even though we're not getting daily updates from Josh Earnest, we're still getting daily State Department briefings. I'm going to go ahead and share this one with you now. This is an update from the State Department.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Matt, I'm sorry. Can we go back to you?
Yeah, sorry,
I was fast.
yes, you were quick. I want to go back to something that we talked about with John yesterday briefly.
Sure.
Briefly, this is the visa waiver provisions. There has been a lot of concern expressed up on the Hill that the Secretary, in his letter to Foreign Minister Zarif, suggested or even said outright that the administration was prepared to waive the requirement in the law that dual Iranian nationals, or people who have dual nationality with Iran and members of and visa waiver program member countries, do not have to get visas. Is that correct?
Well, as the Secretary noted in his letter to the Foreign Minister, we have a number of potential tools to ensure this new legislation does not unduly interfere with the JCPOA implementation or legitimate business travel. The new legislation includes waiver authority for the Department of Homeland Security, but it would be too early to say what and if when that authority will be used. So I don't want to get ahead of a decision. It is in the bill.
Okay, so in fact, the administration can decide that it can choose not to require people who would be covered by this.
So the new legislation does include waiver authority.
Sorry, that would be DHS that
Yes,
decides
sir.
that? So it's not a State Department function?
So visa waiver program is in fact DHS.
Okay, so why is Secretary Kerry writing to the Iranian foreign
It's
minister
my understanding
about,
this was a follow-up to a conversation they had on Friday.
right, so is your understanding that that Secretary Johnson at DHS shares Secretary Kerry's view that?
Well, as I said, it's too early to see if or when that authority will be used, but we will say it is included in the legislation.
Why is it too early to say?
Because I think at this time they're still looking at it. They're looking at the implementation of it.
Sorry,
So, but for
who is?
So the interagency.
They're looking at how they would implement it. Do they know where is the right place to go to find out
For a visa
how many
waiver.
people? Well, how many
sorry.
people would be affected by the? I mean, how many currently? How many dual Iranian visa waiver program members come into the United States on the visa waiver program? Where is that? Where is
Sure.
that?
For questions for visa waiver, we'd refer you to DHS.
Okay. And then second, unless someone else has more on this.
I skipped around. Why don't we stay with you and
All
we
right,
can
I've
go.
got, this is a
Sure.
different subject. actually, just sticking on that first one, when would this decision be made? Whether to
I
use
can't
the authority?
speculate on that. I know they're in conversations now. The letter that the secretary sent was a follow-up to his conversation on Friday, but I know that these conversations are continuing.
Okay, but it takes effect immediately, right? I mean, isn't it in effect
So I think
now?
they're still looking at how, if or when those authorities that are
No, not the waiver authority. I'm talking about the actual provision, the requirement.
On that, I'm
Is
going to
it
refer you to DHS because, again, visa waiver program is a DHS program.
All right.
Thanks,
And
Matt.
on the other topic is also from the Hill.
Yep.
There are calls from Senator Cruz, among others, for the State Department, for the administration to close down the PLO office in Washington because of what these lawmakers say is the Palestinian authorities' continued incitement of violence against Israel.
Okay, so we
what's your
are
response
aware
to
of the
that?
letter. We've received the letter. We'll respond to that letter as we do with all of our congressional correspondence. As a former senator, Secretary Kerry very much respects the role of Congress on that and will engage. I would note, we believe closing the PLO office would be detrimental to our ongoing efforts to calm current tensions between Israelis and Palestinians, advance a two-state solution, and strengthen the U.S.-Palestinian partnership. We believe the PLO is an important partner, and as the official representative body of the Palestinian people before the international community, the PLO has a role to play in our efforts to advance a two-state solution. Every administration, either Republican or Democrat, has regularly exercised available waiver authorities since 1994, allowing the PLO office to remain open. Obviously, and certainly we've spoken about it from this podium, as well as people much higher than me in the administration, we remain deeply concerned about ongoing violence in Israel, Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. We completely reject the notion that there is any justification for violence against innocent civilians. We continue to stress the importance to Palestinian leadership of strongly opposing violence in all forms. If we've said affirmative steps are needed to calm tensions and reduce violence.
Okay, so tell me if I'm wrong then. The response to this letter is going to be, thank you very much for your letter, no.
I can't get ahead of that. What I'll say is
you
we
just
will.
said is you think you
What I'll say is
oppose.
what our position is, which is we believe the PLO is an important partner in advancing the two-state solution.
Right. So, and you also said that you believe that the office, closing the office would be detrimental to your efforts to calm the situation. So you're opposed to this?
So we believe that the PLO has a valid place. We'd like to see that office, and we'd oppose those efforts.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's great. Go ahead.
Two questions. Thank you. Do you see, or what role you think U.S. has played in Saudi Arabia and Iraq? Recently in Saudi Arabia, they allowed women to vote, and also women were elected for the first time in 60 years. And second, in Iraq, yesterday, after 1972, under the pressure from Baghdadi, who threatened that they cannot hold the Miss Iraq pageant in Iraq, and which they held this yesterday, and Iraqi woman was the one who became the Miss Iraq pageant. So you think there is a now shift coming up, despite threats from the Baghdadi and terrorists, that they cannot hold these kind of functions in Iraq or under the Islamic law?
So there's a lot in there. Okay, so I think you saw our statement on Saudi elections, as well as the participation by women in that. Obviously we welcome this. This is an important step, and I think you saw our statement on that. While I may not be the most qualified person to speak to Miss Iraq pageants, what we would say is that we welcome the opening of society and women, of course, as a full and equal partner in society. We welcome that everywhere in the world.
And if I may have one general question on ISIS, ISIL, or the terrorism, as we enter the new year, 2016, end of the 2015, who are the ISIS or ISIL? Who are they and where they come from? Are they the same people from Al Qaeda or Taliban? Because before we've been dealing for the last 20 years or so with Taliban and Al Qaeda. and head was, of course, Osama bin Laden and others, his deputies and all the commanders. But now he's gone, some of his deputies are gone, but with the new name, other organizations are now playing bigger role against innocent people around the globe in many, many countries. Now we
And I
see
thought your previous question was big.
So who are these people? Where they come from? Are they same people? Because even young people were joining Al-Qaeda and Taliban also from different countries under the leadership.
I think what you're asking really is sort of what we call ISIL-affiliated groups or ISIL, aspirational groups. These groups around the world who took off one T-shirt, they're putting on another one. People who seek to associate themselves maybe with the high level of visibility that ISIL has gotten. What I can talk to is sort of the issue of countering violent extremism and countering terror around the world. The United States remains engaged with our partners and our allies around the world on taking a look at this. Some of this goes back to sort of the root causes of terror and addressing those issues. And it's country by country, region by region specific. I think it would be very difficult right now from this podium, and there's people a lot smarter than me on this, to characterize everyone who claims to be ISIL or ISIL affiliated. We've seen this in the past. But I will say that I think especially this year and moving forward, you see an international community coming together who is seeking to address this, not only the causes, but the outputs of groups like that.
We have not seen any role played by China. Only one is the country that we have not seen. Either China is playing the double role, buying their oil or supplying their arms, or where is China as far as fighting against these terrorists?
So China has played a role. I think China is one of the countries that has talked about the threat of terror. But again, it's going to be very hard to characterize this country by country, and I don't think that's something that we can do from here. But certainly the international community has, I wouldn't say woken up to this, but it's something that I think all of us are facing head on.
And finally,
I'm sorry, one more with Goyle, and then we'll move to you, Guy. 1 second.
I'm sorry, finally, just one
Of
more.
course.
Thank you. As far as U.S.-India relations are concerned, Indian Parliament is now considering a bill which will help the U.S. companies to do business in India easily than in the past. What role you think U.S. is playing, and also how much are you considering?
So this is pending legislation within
the
the Indian
between,
Parliament?
Where do we stand
I'm
now?
not going to speak to pending legislation in another country's parliament. I won't even speak to it in ours.
No, what I meant is, where do you put today, 2015, the relations between the two countries?
Oh, excellent. India is an important partner. Our cultural ties are deep. We share huge concerns as large democracies. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you
I have
very
a related question about ISIL affiliates and particularly in the Balkans, where federal police in Bosnia have just today engaged in a pretty major sweep that rounded up at least 11 individuals alleged to be involved in some way with the Islamic State. Does this department support the Bosnian government's crackdown? Are there concerns that it may be heavy-handed? And then separately, how serious are concerns here that ISIL is trying to get some kind of a foothold in that region of the world with these affiliates that you mentioned?
So thanks, Guy. So we have seen those reports. I'm going to refer you to the proper authorities in Bosnia and Herzegovina, particularly on that. But, as I said when I was speaking with Goyle, we work with our partners around the world, including in Bosnia and Herzegovina, on counterterrorism measures to defeat terrorism wherever it exists, and we'll continue to do that. We've seen tangible progress since we've made this effort. Again, not speaking particularly for this because I've just seen these reports coming out, but the U.S. currently has information sharing agreements with over 45 international partners to identify and track the travel of foreign terrorists. This type of information sharing agreements remain one of the best ways that we can increase cooperation to mitigate the flow of foreign terrorist fighters. A total of 44 countries have passed or updated existing laws to effectively identify and prosecute foreign terror fighters. 22 countries have passed new legal frameworks since the passage of UN Security Council Resolution 2178. we understand the seriousness of this. We understand that countries around the world are facing this issue, particularly when it comes to these arrests. I just can't speak to the details of those. It's my understanding the investigation is ongoing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pam? Sure.
What is the U.S. response to Haiti's decision to postpone its presidential runoff election until January?
Pam, let me find that, and then I'm going to come right back to you on that. Okay, my apologies. Actually, got it. I'm as bad as Kirby up here. We urge all actors to work together in a peaceful manner towards the goal of seating a new parliament by January 11th and inaugurating a new president by February 7th as mandated by the Haitian Constitution. As Haiti moves to the final round of elections, the United States reaffirms its commitment to working with the CEP and Haiti's international partners in support of fair and credible elections that reflect the will of the Haitian people. Hi.
Thank you. Hi. President Obama on Friday at his year-end news conference said, "I think that Assad is going to have to leave in order for the country to stop the bloodshed, for all the parties involved to be able to move forward in a non-sectarian way." And we've heard similar statements from this podium. I have a few simple end-of-the-year questions. Is it the position of the U.S. that Assad can stay through the transition process?
Our position is that Assad has lost legitimacy. He cannot be part of a Syrian government. How and when he goes is still under debate.
So can Assad
So
stay
as
through
I
the
said,
transition process?
at the end, where Assad goes, and we actually did a pretty deep dive on this yesterday, so I'd also, direct you to that transcript. But as we go, at the end, he cannot be part of a government that governs a free, pluralistic Syria. How and where he goes in that transition process is still being worked out.
I understand how you see the future, but what about the transition process?
How and when he goes is still being discussed.
Is his departure, just to clarify, Assad's departure is not a precondition for the transition process to begin,
and
is
where
it?
he goes is part of what is under discussion right now.
Would you agree? I'm sorry. Would you agree that the U.S. position has evolved? From
I would say that our
saying
position
that
actually is the same. We've always said that Assad cannot be part of the government that will eventually govern the free Syria. We talked about this yesterday. I think Secretary Kerry made this clear. We've seen progress. We've seen progress as we go. There are still disagreements within the ISSG. There's still a lot of discussion that's going on. But what we're seeing now is those dialogues, those discussions happening.
Would you say that it is still being discussed and decided whether or not he can be part of the transition process?
So what I'd say is it is still being decided and discussed what that transitional process looks like. Our position that Assad must go, that he has lost legitimacy, he cannot govern a free and sovereign Syria, has not changed. Okay, go ahead.
On Japan, Japan's ruling party launched a study group to review its modern history, and this is placed directly under Prime Minister Abe.
Mm-hmm.
And given the contentious nature of history in the region, there are concerns that they would take a revisionist perspective on history. Do you share these concerns?
Okay, so you're asking me about an internal study group taking a look at internal history of a sovereign country?
Yes.
Okay, we have no comment on that.
Okay, but there are concerns that they would also look at U.S.-Japanese history, including the Tokyo War Crime Tribunals.
Yeah, on the questions of how Japan governs its own history projects, I'm going to refer you to the government of Japan. Okay.
They can
on questions on how they
can revise history, and it's okay with you?
Well, certainly we have our own view of what happened in the world wars. History and historians, international historians, U.S. historians, independent Japanese historians have spoken about this. But this particular process, which is a Japanese government process, I'm not going to speak to.
Okay, well, if you have spoken to other countries' attempts to rewrite history, or
It's my understanding this is a brand new process.
I don't know anything about it. I'm just curious that you can say that.
He'll send around a link.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sure.
On Burundi, today the government rejected a proposal for the Africa Union peacekeeping force in Burundi. Do you have any comment on?
Yeah, we would strongly prefer that the government in Burundi welcome the AU mission on the timeline set out. We defer to the African Union on the next steps. We offer our full support to the AU government. We have urged Burundi to accept the AU mission. We will continue to support the deployment of these troops to protect civilians and to allow space for the internationally mediated dialogue to find a sustainable political solution to this crisis. We remain gravely concerned with the situation on the ground. It's going to be a short one. Abby.
Do you have any response to reports that in 2013 Iran hacked into the controls of a dam outside of New York City? And do you think that incidents like this reveal a weakness in U.S. security?
I would say cybersecurity remains a priority and a challenge across the federal government as well as in the private sector. We're continuously making improvements. We're well positioned today. We've demonstrated our ability to move swiftly and to good effect. I'm not going to speak specifically on this particular allegation. Okay. Hi.
I know you talked about the Chinese lawyer's case at the top of the briefing.
Yep.
But could you comment on the reports that foreign reporters being physically abused by plainclothes police outside the courts?
Okay, I'm not aware of those reports. Obviously, we've spoken very strongly about freedom of expression, the importance of media freedom. Okay, but I'm not aware of those specific reports. Last one.
The State Department has revoked the visas of 9,500 individuals who were found to have some connection to terrorism since 2001. Mm-hmm. Could some of them still be in the United States?
Okay, so revoking the visas, or are you talking about entry into the United States? Because for people who are inside the United States, I'm going to refer you to the Department of Homeland Security. They're the people who control the borders, who go inside the United States. If you're asking about visa revocation, we are you asking the 9,000? Clarify your question for me.
9,500.
You're asking about people who remain in the United States?
That's right, and who were found to have some connection. Actually, I would like that clarified.
Yeah, it's a complex thing.
Or are they? But could they still be in the United States?
Okay, if visas have been revoked, they have no possibility of traveling to the United States. If you're asking about who's in the United States, and I can't speak for the Department of Homeland Security. I don't know the sensitivity of their records. But if you're asking about that, I'm going to refer you.
But can their visas be revoked while they're still in the United States?
So if people are within the United States and then they leave, that's a question for Homeland Security. So we can speak to the revocation of visas. Without visas, people cannot travel to the U.S. or visa waiver program,
but
which is all.
Because it doesn't quite make sense to me on...
To set it aside.
So you want to set it aside to withdraw it? Okay,
that's great.
Thank you.
Matt, I'm sorry, can we go back to you?
Yeah, sorry,
I was fast.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that is a wrap on our coverage from the State Department. Joining me once again is Mike Page for a follow-up to yesterday's conversation about the Miss Universe mishap. Steve Harvey obviously saying the wrong name, or announcing the wrong winner, rather.
Crowned her. Crowned the wrong one.
Crowned her, and then it was later revealed that she was not the winner.
No,
she being Miss Colombia, rather Miss Philippines.
Yep. Poor Miss Colombia, first runner-up.
And, at first you would be sorry for her.
Yep.
You would feel for her. You would be like, oh, that's too bad. It must be so bad, sad to be Miss
I think
Colombia.
the whole world was feeling for Miss Colombia. Until today, when she's been going on Instagram and pretty much saying she's Miss Universe.
I think it's time we pull up her.
That's what's been. She is in deep.
Instagram.
Well, you know what? It might be deep denial.
I mean, does she not remember what happened?
Well, she obviously does, but maybe it's a psychological thing.
I guess.
You know what I think she's going for is I think she's campaigning for dual winners.
Okay, maybe. So we're gonna pull up her.
Here it is.
Her Instagram. And here it is. It's pretty controversial because...
Wow, she almost has 1 million followers.
Well, I mean, she got a lot of exposure. I bet she got like
Wow.
hundreds of thousands just after
Yeah.
Sunday. So there's this picture that she posts yesterday, and everyone's like, whoa, I can't believe she did that. Because in the caption says, por siempre tu Miss Universo Colombia. So like, forever your Miss Universe Colombia, hashtag Miss Colombia.
See?
And instead of showing pictures of her as just Miss Colombia competing during Miss Universe, she chooses to post this
With the
picture.
crown.
The crown, the sash, the flowers, everything.
This is how she wants to be remembered.
I guess so, but then you see all these people who...
They're getting very
angry in the comments.
Well, see, they don't think it's respectable to Miss Philippines,
Yeah.
who is the valid winner here.
Yeah, like here, Jing and Josh says, I don't understand why Miss Colombia has the nerve to post this picture, brainless.
Wow.
And there's just some drama, even in the comments. The fans fighting with each other.
Yeah.
The commenters fighting amongst
Yeah.
themselves. So she posts this, and then she posts this one
Yeah, so-
afterwards.
Yeah, this is the
Like-
one I like. This is the one I like.
She doesn't just post one photo of her with the crown and the sash. She posts 2 Instagram photos, and the second one features 2 photos of her, so technically 3 photos of her
And
in the
the
crown.
former.
And the former Miss Universe.
Embracing her.
With the hashtag back to back. I don't know if you guys can see this.
I think that's
here.
the worst to do.
The
that
moment will
hashtag.
always be with me. Hashtag Miss Universe, hashtag Miss Colombia, hashtag back to back. Because last year's winner was Miss Colombia.
Yep.
Right there hugging her. So, yeah, I think she's in some sort of delusional state.
Yes.
And,
This
I
is
don't know.
It's a very, you know what? It has to be a sad time for her, though. Christmas week.
I know, but like you should accept defeat graciously. And you're first runner-up. If something happened to Miss Universe, you'd be Miss Universe. You're like
Yeah.
the vice president.
You are the vice.
Of Miss Universe. You're Miss Vice Universe.
You
I
are the
don't know.
vice.
So I don't know. It's.
I was telling you this earlier.
This
though.
is actually losing her fans because I think she gained a lot of fans just because
Yep.
people felt sorry and sad for her.
Yeah.
And instead of her coming out and posting something on Instagram, like everything happens for a reason or something, she does this. And then Perez Hilton, who was one of the judges
Yep.
during the competition, goes on Good Morning America this morning, basically puts Miss Colombia on blast.
Sure.
Did you read that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
he was talking about how she was kind of being super diva and kind of being bitchy to her like her translator and.
Well, you know what I think what we're seeing here, folks? We're seeing the stages of grief, right? First you're in denial, then you're mad. This is the mad portion, right?
That's a fair argument.
I think in a couple days during Christmas, she's going to realize that, yes, Miss Philippines is the winner.
Yeah, but you posted on social media for the world to see.
I know.
I mean, I guess that's 2015, and she is only 21 years old, or 20.
Is that
or
all she is?
She's 20
Wow.
or 21, so
Good for her.
She's in that age group where people do post stupid things on social media,
Yeah.
and don't really think about the consequences.
Let's see what the people have been saying.
Everyone thinks that she looks like the Colombian actress in Modern Family, Sofia Vergara.
Yeah, I'll give them that.
Yeah. So there's that. What do you guys think, though? Do you think she should have posted that on Instagram?
Yeah, let's hear you there. I was telling you this earlier, though. I think we can all relate, though, a little bit.
This is actually really funny.
We've all been Miss Colombia in life at one point or another. Maybe not on a, pageant
Stage.
on a stage, but maybe in a relationship.
Where someone announces you're the winner and says, just kidding,
Yeah.
this person's the
Yeah,
winner.
see, or for even in professional career,
You're going to get that promotion.
Yeah,
This
no, you're
person
not.
got the promotion.
See, yeah, you never know.
Alan Lewis saying Steve Harvey crushed her dreams. Reziak saying Miss Universe was a faltering, lame production. Money folk do not care about the runner-up's feelings and happily pay off a failing music artist. Reziak saying everyone is talking about Miss Universe now, and only one girl got her feelings hurt. So they think it's all like planned in a stage. It actually really did. I mean, who had been watching Miss Universe
I know.
in recent
now
years?
everybody's talking about
That's
it, and now
true. And everyone's gonna watch next year now to see what happens.
I know because Steve Harvey. They want Steve Harvey back.
They do?
Yeah, that's
They
the
said
newest
that?
thing today.
Whoa. Reziak saying it's fake. You know what? I could maybe buy into that. I could buy into that, Reziak.
And I hope Steve Harvey does get to do it again.
To make up for it.
Redemption. This is a redemption show.
And also, it'll be so fun for comedians and the media in the days leading up to the pageant.
Yeah.
To make all the Steve Harvey jokes again.
Yeah.
Bring back the memes.
Absolutely. I think at the very least, Miss Colombia should go on Family Feud. At the very least.
I think you have to be a U.S. citizen, don't you?
I think, and she doesn't understand English, so that'd be very hard for her to...
Right, and if she had a translator, she wouldn't be able to be patient enough to deal with her translator.
Now, what do you think her feelings are to Steve?
She probably hates him.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, actually. I'm just making that up.
Yeah, that would be deep if she did.
No, apparently, though, she was not blaming Steve at all, and apparently all the people are just angry at Miss Philippines. I read an article about how all the Latina contestants all, gathered to go console Miss Colombia, and they're angry, and they never even sent a congratulations message to Miss Philippines, and it's getting intense, guys.
Wow. Well,
John Hoffman saying, I can't blame her for being mad. She was embarrassed in front of millions of people. There's that.
She really was.
Kathy K says it's okay for her to post. I think so. She held the title long enough to post the pictures. Lauren Lynn saying she's crazy. I should have been Miss Universe. Haha. Alan Lewis, Larry saying, yes, let's post them. Why not? It's actually her. I get what you're saying, but it's more about you aren't Miss Universe.
Yeah.
It's more about you're living in this false reality.
She's in a false fantasy right now.
And she's not posting any pictures from that day of her in any position besides her as Miss Universe.
I want to see what endorsements she gets after this. You know there's going to be something, right? Commercial, something.
You know what?
Super Bowl? Maybe Super Bowl commercial?
I think Miss Colombia is going to be Pepsi. Philippines is going to be Coke. It's going to be they're going to represent rivalries all over the world.
Yep.
You name an industry, they're going to represent the rivalries between those two industries. One may team up with Sony. The other one may team up with Samsung. Who knows what deals they'll get?
You never know what's going to happen, but at least Miss Colombia is very young.
She has a whole life ahead of her.
Yeah.
And yes, there's a little bit of backlash over these photos, but in the end, she's still Miss Colombia. More people know her now than they ever did, so she'll probably get more opportunities. And if she learns English, maybe she could be the next Sofia Vergara.
And, to her credit, though, when it was the final three, when I was looking at the final three when I was watching, I thought she was going to win. So...
why weren't you going for Miss USA? Where is your patriotism?
Well, I didn't think she was really good at answering the questions, though.
You're being objective.
No, she was really fumbling, Miss USA.
She's pretty, though.
Yeah, but Miss Colombia was really great.
Miss Colombia doesn't speak English.
I know.
Well, you know what? It's Miss Philippines is the winner. We're just
now I'm in the false.
Well, what's funny is I feel like we're all talking about Miss Colombia more than we're talking about Miss Philippines.
Yeah.
So in the end, Miss Colombia, everything does happen for a reason,
Yeah.
and maybe this was the best thing for your career. Because if he had said the right name, Miss Philippines, then no one would remember the first runner-up.
No.
But because of this controversy, people know who you are. You probably gained Instagram followers.
This was a blessing.
It was. If only she can see it.
Oh, she will. It's Christmas time. Don't you think? I think she's going to come around. Now she's really mad.
Do you think she's going to go back and delete these photos or keep them up?
Depends on how you like. Look at, she got 250,000 likes on that one.
That's a lot, yeah. But I mean, how many likes does she get on these? Oh, wow.
Yeah, people. Well, these all might be posts too, where
Well,
people
yeah,
just went crazy.
Well, people started following her
Yeah.
here, where now she gets hundreds of thousands. But before the event, she was in the 5-digit range. Now she's in the 6-digit range of
Wow.
likes. Let's watch this video. I don't even know what it's about.
Hi everyone, it's me, Miss Colombia, Ariadna Gutierrez. I want to send you big kisses and don't forget to watch me on December 20 on Fox. Bye bye.
She does speak English.
She's great.
Maybe it's just harder for her, and that's what she needed.
How much did that one get? Oh, not much.
32. Well, yeah, what I'm saying is I guarantee you she gained at least 100,000 followers after the incident. And with those new followers comes new likes.
Yes, yes. Well.
Have we checked out Miss Philippines Instagram?
Oh, yeah, let's see who has them. Yeah,
and I wonder if she's posted it all.
That's actually even better to see. Let's see this now.
She posts a makeup for her. See, what's interesting is when you type Miss Philippines Instagram into Google, and it's nothing controversial. It's like Miss Philippines posts makeup-free selfie after awkward Miss Universe mix-up.
Oh.
She seems so, like, nice.
What's the first one there, though? Is that the Instagram?
I don't think so. Let's...
Miss Universe Philippines.
That's the official page of...
Oh, we need this. Well, maybe they converted it already?
No, she still has... There we go.
Oh, there you go. Oh, wow, it's pretty close.
Who has more followers?
Well, Colombia by little.
Oh my gosh, now it's just a competition over everything. She has 60,000 more followers, Colombia.
And she has, but this one has
You
more.
know what? This is like election 2000 all over again.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is like Gore Bush. Gore was the winner. No, wait. George Bush was the winner.
What happens if they had a universal, a vote?
Like actually polled the whole universe?
Yeah.
Outer space included.
Well, you could vote online, yeah. They need to do that maybe. Because this is really close, 832 to 892.
Well, those are just numbers. Wow. But let's look at her.
See the...
So this is the picture she posted 3 days ago. Like the day of the pageant.
Wow.
And she posts in Tagalog, so I can't really understand that Tagalog is the official language of the Philippines. And then this one, where she posts Miss Universe, confidently beautiful. Again, this is before she won.
Yeah.
Let's watch the videos. Models.
Wow. She did it.
So then you have this one. This is still before. We just finished our last rehearsal day before the big night. I can't believe it. I started training in November 2012, and now it's December 2015. It took so long for me to earn this sash with 3 attempts in Miss Philippines. It was quite a journey, and tomorrow it all ends on this one big night. Thank you to everyone who's trained me, took care of me, and helped me. I'd also like to say thank you to those who challenged me. Wow. See, she's so, like...
She did it.
You know what I mean, though? You read this,
she did
and
it.
then you compare it to Miss Colombia, who's just like, I won. But it's just this. She comes off as a nicer person.
Yes.
Saying things like, "This very may well be the highlight of my life. What an honor is it to represent our country in the most prestigious pageant ever. Finally, guys, and most importantly, I hope I inspired you. Never give up on your dreams and believe that dreams do come true." Come on.
See, there we go.
And then she posts this one. Still before.
Yeah, that was before.
Before.
But show the next one though. This
And this is after winning, and she has 400,000 likes. 42 years of drought, and now it finally rains, meaning it's been 42 years since the Philippines have been crowned Miss Universe.
And she represents it.
Wow. Trying multiple times. She's finally gotten it. And then she posts this.
Wow.
Jesus, the book is called Jesus is Calling. Thank you, Lord. Everything makes sense now in God's perfect timing. I'm telling you, how do you not like this girl?
See.
Like, read this. So I think it's like it's a Bible quote, I think, for every day is what it looks like, right?
Yep.
And you look at December 21st, which was Monday, right?
Yeah, that was yesterday, yep.
Let's read that. Can you read it? It's close to you. We're going to have you read this.
I'd like to read it, folks.
In a biblical voice.
Okay.
It
says, "My plan for your life is unfolding before you. Sometimes the road you are traveling seems blocked, or it opens up so painfully slow that you must hold yourself back. Then, when time is right, the way before you suddenly clears. Through no effort of your own. What you have longed for and worked for, I present to you freely as pure gift."
Wow.
You feel awed by the ease with which I operate in the world, and you glimpse my power and my glory.
There's more. There's another paragraph.
I know it's going to be a little bit hard on this side. I got a little wire sticking out, but
you want me to read it? I can read it actually from here. I got a mic too.
Okay.
Mic on the mic, guys.
Yep.
Do not fear your weakness, for it is the stage on which my power and glory perform most brilliantly. As you persevere along the path I have prepared for you, depending on my strength to sustain you, expect to see miracles, and you will. Miracles are not always visible to the naked eye, but those who live by faith can see them clearly. Living by faith rather than sight enables you to see my glory. Wow.
See, what a perfect timing for her to read that.
Wow.
And now she is Miss Universe.
She is. So where's the picture where she posted the makeup-free selfie?
Maybe she didn't put it to Insta.
Everyone's saying she did on Instagram.
Wow.
Well, let's check the Miss Universe Philippines one. No.
No. And that doesn't even have a lot of followers. Wow. Well, she did it. She did it for everybody.
She did. Hold on. Why is it? Where is this makeup-free selfie? Where did she post this? Where is this? It's here, but I don't see it.
Wait, go up. Go up just a little.
Oh, it's under the Miss Universe. There's a separate Instagram.
It's the
as
holidays
Miss
at
Universe.
Ross, and all through the store there are gifts. More.
They got a bunch of followers here.
Yeah, they're all in the 800,000 range. It's a little suspect.
It is.
So there she is. Awkward. So
Ooh,
what's
let's play
this?
that because
What
that's
is-
awkward.
A message from Miss Universe Colombia. Oh, hold on.
Wurzbach shared this fresh face pic before getting glam. She hashtagged the photo.
I'm so happy. Thank you for all. Thank you
Hold
for
on, we have to replay this.
Wow, this is pretty deep,
everything
guys.
happens for a reason. So I'm happy. I'm happy for all what I did for becoming this dream true. So I'm so happy. Thank you for all. Thank you for voting for me. Thank you for. We love you guys.
So that's
Everything
them
happens for a
consoling
reason.
her.
So I'm happy.
She definitely
I'm
looks
happy
like
for
Sofia
all what I
Vergara.
did
Yeah.
There's no question.
She really
I
does.
wonder, has Sofia Vergara commented
So
on this
I'm so happy. Thank you for all.
Well, she's.
Thank you for voting for me.
Sophia.
Thank you
Sophia
for.
is probably very self-conscious
Everything
right
happens
now.
for a
Oh,
reason.
insecure.
So I'm
This
happy.
is a younger version of her.
This is
I'm
very
happy
young.
for all what I did for becoming this dream.
Now we have
So
Sofia
I'm so
Vergara.
happy.
Yeah, they do look a lot alike, though. Oh,
She's not commenting on it at all. She's just saying she's ready for Xmas.
no, she doesn't probably want to be part of the conversation.
She probably doesn't want to
Wow.
have anything to do
No,
with it
she's
because that's
doing
her
much better.
competition.
She's doing much better, though.
Well, yeah.
Look at that
Modern
house.
Family,
Wait, can
she
you
does
see that
good.
house again? That is the holidays right there.
That's
Wow.
very pretty. But back to the Miss Universe post. So then we have her. So this is just. Oh, they posted a apology thing.
That's very.
The excitement of live TV was evident tonight on the Miss Universe stage with over 10 million live fan votes tabulated. Unfortunately, a live telecast means that human error can come into play. We witnessed that tonight when the wrong winner was initially announced. Our sincerest apologies to Miss Universe Colombia, Miss Universe Philippines, their families, and friends. We congratulate Miss Universe Philippines as Miss Universe 2015.
See. Wow.
And then here's her video.
It's a very non-traditional crowning moment, isn't it? Yeah, it's very 2015.
She's shell-shocked.
It's a very
She's shell-shocked.
non-traditional crowning moment, isn't it? Yeah, it's
It's a very non-traditional crowning.
Well, yeah, when they crown the wrong girl, I've never seen that before.
It is not traditional. Oh man. So there's that.
Yeah.
So I think this wraps up our our coverage of Miss Colombia controversial Instagram page. Any final thoughts, Mr. Page?
Heart goes out to both of them. Because her whole win was kind of diluted by the fact that they had to take the crown off and then put it on a new girl.
You know, people will never forget her though.
No.
It's the most memorable Miss Universe pageant in history, probably.
Yeah.
In recent history. And even people who didn't watch the pageant, even people who didn't know the pageant was happening that night, know about the mix-up.
That's true.
The interesting thing is, no one still really knows their names.
No.
I know. It's just, Miss Colombia, Miss Philippines.
Wow. But I am going to start looking at Miss Colombia's Instagram.
Are you going to follow her? You're going to give her the follow?
Yeah.
What about Miss Philippines?
I don't know. Not yet. Not yet.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how I feel today.
I see.
But that was a good segment, guys. I'll see y'all in a little bit.
Bye-bye, Paige.
Bye-bye.
Let's look at a couple more of these Instagrams. Here's that makeup-free selfie. My first day as Miss Universe has officially begun, is what the caption says. Coming up in just a little bit, we will be graced by the presence of Dave Muncy. Fingers crossed he won't have the time to make it over here to the News Now set. In the meantime, I want to give you a preview of what Dave Muncy and I will be talking about. We'll be giving you the upcoming forecast for this Christmas week. Right now, that is what it looks like outside. It is cold in northern Arizona and not that warm down here in the Phoenix area either. In fact, I was looking at the highs in New York City. This Thursday, the high in New York City is 72 degrees. Somebody please explain why it's 72 in New York on the same day that it's like 60-something in Arizona. That is absurd. All right, guys, going back to our top 5, I am going to give you an update on bullet point number 5, Cardinals teddy bear delivery. In case you missed this video earlier, going to play this for you one more time. Watch as players from the Arizona Cardinals deliver teddy bears wearing jerseys to children in need at Phoenix Children's Hospital.
He said he wants to see the dog. That's all.
You can look from the door. You're going to look from the door.
Yeah, the door doesn't open. Can you see him?
Can you see him? That's Barney. Hi. He's so big. Yeah.
It's a dare-sized dog.
He came to say hi.
Just 10:13? When?
Well, happy late birthday. Are you excited for Christmas? Yeah.
Did you want me to sign anything for you? You want to sign a dog? You want me to sign anything else?
I was going to say, are you prepared with a marker? Of course he is. He's always prepared with a marker.
Now I know your favorite Cardinals, number 85 now, right?
Thank you so
Oh, no problem. Wish you the best. Merry Christmas.
Thanks. You too. Holidays.
What's your favorite game? What position on both? Quarterback and football. What about baseball?
First base.
Are you the mother? Awesome.
How do you feel,
When I was 13.
It's pretty cool.
A long
Were you
time
expecting
ago.
this?
No. Well, I kind of knew, but it's cool.
What do you think about them coming here?
It's pretty cool. Really glad that they came here.
Have you ever met a famous football player before?
I wouldn't say famous, but
I think you're famous.
Not in person, like this close. But,
Not in person.
You know, I've been to the games and stuff, but I've never come this close.
Do you have a favorite now?
What?
Do you have a favorite football player now?
No, not really.
I'm pretty sure you have a different answer.
Can I ask you, do you have a favorite football player now?
Yeah.
What number is he?
85, I think, yeah. Probably.
I'm not going to put that pressure on you. You can say Larry Fitzgerald. I won't be mad.
That's awesome.
But this one's special because it's I'm glad we can put a smile on your face.
Yeah, I needed it.
Good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
That's why we black out. Since Barney couldn't come in here and give this to you, he wanted to give this to you. I'm going to have to give it to you. And you're better. Hopefully one day you can actually pet him. He's like this big. He's a big dog.
He said thank you, Barney. You have to take
Hey, Jose. How you doing? How you feel? Feeling good? Brought you this bear. I want to wish you a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. You want me to sign it? Or do you have anything else you want me to sign instead of this?
Hi,
How old are you?
Jose.
18.
How are you? I'm Sarah. I cheer for the Cardinals. How's your day going? Good? Yeah? Can you spell your name for me?
J-O-S-E.
Alrighty, there you go, buddy.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
How long you been here?
Maybe 2 weeks.
2 weeks? It's too long for me.
You're 18? Oh, goodness.
So I know you just want to be out of here, just having fun with friends. What do you do for fun? Play sports? No? Just hang out?
What do you and your friends do for fun?
Like video?
I like to play
Play what?
Basketball, NBA 2K?
Basketball.
What's your favorite team?
The
Suns.
Suns.
Nice.
Do you watch their games?
Cardinals.
Who's your favorite player?
Correct answer right there. Who's your favorite player?
You can say Larry
Larry
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald. It's
Okay.
I'm not gonna give that. He's okay. I mean, it's not like he's anything special. But, you know. I didn't say that, Larry.
You said, yup. Right? All right, Jose, we're going to go meet some other kids too, okay?
Okay.
Did you get a signature? Did you want Darren to sign it?
Of course you got to say.
You already did it? Okay.
All right, guys, and that is a wrap on our raw video of this event that took place earlier today at Phoenix Children's Hospital. Such a lovely holiday event. It's nice to share with you guys happy stories as opposed to just the sad ones that we often report on the news. Now, moving on, we have a live event coming in. It looks like Hillary Clinton is holding an event, and she should be taking the stand any minute now.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There is so much hatred, war and poverty. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. 'Cause they're the ones who's coming up and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. Oh yeah.
The world won't get no better if we just let it be.
Oh no.
The world won't get no better. We gotta change again, just you and me. Wake up all the doctors, make the old people well. They're the ones who suffer and who catch all the hail. They don't have so very long before their judgment day. So won't you make them happy before they pass away? Oh yeah.
Wake up all the builders, time to build a new land. I know we can do it if we all lend a hand. The only thing we have to do is put it in our minds.
take us back to where we belong. I try to write a song as sweet as the Psalms, though I'm the type to bear arms and wear my heart on my sleeve. Even when I fail in God, I believe. Read the days and weave through the maze, and the seasons so amazing. Feed them and raise them. Seasons are aging, earthquakes, wars and rumors. I want us to get by, but we more than consumers. We more than shooters, more than looters. Created in this image, so God lived through us. And even in this generation, living through computers, only love can reboot us. Come on,
wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. Oh, wake up, everybody. Yeah. Because I need a little help. Can't do it alone. Oh, I need a little help. Come on. I need a little help,
Hello, Fairfield. Good afternoon. My name's Rachel. I'm an organizer with Hillary for Iowa.
All right, guys, we're going to cut out of this event because I am blessed with the presence of Dave Muncie. It has been so long since we've been able to get a weather update from you.
What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue? All right. Merry Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
That's your little Whitman sampler. I don't know if we
Dave
can show
Muncie's
it.
the best.
Yeah, today is the candy giveaway. These are crates of
Oh, but
Whitman
the green
samplers.
one has Santa on it.
Oh, do you want to go
Oh
for
my God,
green?
look.
Yeah.
Like, how do you decide?
I don't. I just throw them. And,
At
I
people?
walk by your desk and say, "Go for it." Here's
Oh, but then
another
this one has a cute little...
Here's the little puppies on it.
Oh my gosh. Which holiday
There
design?
you go.
Santa's so cute.
And
But I really like the light blue color.
I've been doing this for about 30 years, handing out Whitman samplers. Everybody in the station gets one.
It's very kind. I remember I
Whether
got mine
you've been
last
naughty
year.
or nice, and I know.
I remember getting it last year, and I was
Oh,
very
that's
new.
right, yeah.
I was very new to the station, and I
Everybody
thought it would
get
be
one. You don't have to have been here for a
nicest
while.
gesture.
It's fun. Yeah, Christmas is fun.
And you wear a different tie every day leading up to Christmas, right?
This is my Christmas tree lighting tie. Tonight, a little after 9, we light the Weather Center Christmas tree.
There's a Christmas tree back there?
34th annual. There will be tonight. The 34th annual lighting of the Christmas tree. It all started when I was the person that lit the Christmas tree at a ceremony. And the ceremony went on and on and on, and everybody gave a speech, and 3 or 4 politicians showed up, and their brothers and their mothers, and everybody had a speech to give. And it went on forever. And I thought, there's got to be a shorter way. So we light the tree and go home. It's the fastest, it's the most convenient, it's the latest in the season, and also free parking.
I also just noticed something completely unrelated
Certainly.
to the tree.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have a new clicker? A new weather clicker?
Well, yeah, we do have a new weather computer. And this
Can we
is
show the
new.
viewers
Oh,
the new
sure.
clicker? Because I've
This
seen
is
the
new
old one and
clicker.
it's all
Yeah.
small. This is so futuristic
Yeah,
and advanced.
that's got
looking.
all kinds of stuff on
Wow.
it. And you'll see some new maps. In fact, let me show you a few.
Oh my gosh,
and
how
then I'm going to have to
exciting.
run. You can see what's going on. There's a little bit of active weather around. And this is what we're looking at, for the next 24 hours, 48 hours, somewhere in there. That low pressure system, the cold air moving in. And then this is the future cast. And as you get a look at it here, you can kind of see the moisture content over the next 2 or 3 days.
What does
And
this mean?
A lot of that, well, if you watch it, you'll be able to see. A lot of this stuff stays out of the Phoenix area. It brushes us a couple of times. It gets close a couple of times. And then that second storm coming down, you see that just kind of evaporate right there.
Mhm.
And this is what we're looking at. Pretty good chance for rain tomorrow.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, about a 20%. Another 20% chance for rain on Thursday. And Friday, it's about a 10% chance of rain.
Like a Christmas
so that
rain?
drops off. Well, I think there's a little chance for rain on that's Friday, of course, Christmas Day. But that temperature at 58 degrees, that's nothing compared to Saturday's temperature. And I can't tell you what that is.
Please tell me. I need to know.
53.
Oh my God, what is happening to Arizona? Do you realize that this week on Thursday, the high in New York City is 72 degrees?
There you go.
What is going on?
I know.
What is going on?
And, you know, are you looking for work in New York?
Now I am, I guess, because it's really cold out over here. Do you
Okay.
understand I just had to buy so many new sweaters a few weeks ago?
Listen to her, and she just got a box of
Okay,
candy.
sorry, I should not complain.
I gotta
Arizona
go.
is
Merry
lovely. I
Christmas,
just
everybody.
expected a little bit
I
warmer
know,
weather.
I know.
Dave
But then
Muncie
you're
thinks-
from Fresno, right?
I am from Fresno,
I
but it's been a while since I've lived there.
I know.
Dave Muncie, you're the best.
Okay,
Thanks
guys.
for hanging.
We'll see you.
Thanks for the weather forecast, even if it is not so great news. And on that note, guys, we are going to go back now to Iowa, where we are still waiting for Hillary Clinton to arrive.
Hey, Fairfield. It is so awesome to see all of you out here today. For those of you that I haven't met, which judging by the huge crowd is most of you, my name's Alex Butcher-Nesbitt. I'm the organizer right here in Fairfield in Jefferson County. I'm thrilled to be here today. This is so cool. And so, while I realize that I'm still not Hillary yet, I wanted to share a little bit about why I'm out here fighting for her every day. You know, what on earth would make this kid from the East Coast pack up his car and drive 1,600 miles to come start a new chapter of his life organizing for some presidential candidate? It's a good question. And most of it starts with my folks, actually. And I grew up in a really rural area in New Hampshire. Both of my parents founded small businesses there. It was a town of about 1,600 people, so as you can imagine, not really a hotbed of startup success. But what I always admired about them was their bravery, their courage to make their passions come to life at home, in the place they loved the most. And I think that, you know, as I admire that about them, you know, not everything was roses, obviously. If the economy was doing all right, my dad's construction business and my mom's theater company meant we were doing okay. But as I'm sure all of you can relate to, when the economy took a dip and
Uh-oh, it looks like we have lost our feed entirely. They're showing us this random graphic that says TVU Networks. I have no idea what that means, guys, but maybe the feed is coming back. Are we getting hacked right now? Nobody knows.
Because they
I just know
knew
that. There we go.
our
We've gotten
world
it
was
back.
empowering future generations. And so I'm here because Hillary knows that too. And Hillary knows that the way forward is about the folks that government doesn't normally fight for. And we've seen that throughout her career, whether it was right out of Yale Law School, working for the Children's Defense Fund, fighting for disadvantaged children, whether that was as First Lady, talking about the importance of universal health care and eventually getting the Children's Health Insurance Program passed, or as Secretary of State, putting women and girls for the first time at the forefront of U.S. diplomacy. These are huge things, and they're all emblematic of what kind of president I think Hillary's going to be. And so when I got out of college, I took a look at her education plan, naturally, because I was looking at everything I could, because I was facing a mountain of debt, and thinking about the kids that I'd grown up with that didn't have parents that could always say yes. And what I saw was something that would help folks like that. A debt-free tuition plan was the most practical, the best way to move forward with those folks that
All right, guys, we are having some technical difficulties. Bear with us. We are.
She can't be
doing our
at
best.
all of your caucuses on February 1st, making sure that strong supporters like you guys are there in the room fighting for her in her corner. And I'm only one person, so I can't be at everyone's in Jefferson County. So here's where I need your help. I need you to do two things today. The first one is, if you haven't already, commit to caucus for Hillary Clinton on February 1st. Sign one of those commit to caucus cards with the folks with the clipboards. This is the single most important way we're going to win the Iowa caucus for Hillary. And the second thing is, again, find a clipboarder and sign up to knock some doors or make some phone calls in your neighborhood. This is all about building a community, and it's the only way we're going to build the support that we're going to need to win in February 1st. You got to do that. And we really have, as Rachel said earlier, we've got 41 days left. There's no time to waste, because what scares me more than anything is waking up on February 2nd knowing that we could have done just a little bit more. So commit to caucus, commit to volunteer. Let's go win the Iowa caucus for Hillary Clinton. Thank you, guys.
Folks, it's Mike taking over here. Happy Tuesday afternoon, days away from Christmas. Good afternoon, everybody, and early evening to you. Mike Pace here, part of the Fox 10 News Now stream. We are waiting for Hillary Clinton to do another town hall meeting in Iowa, this time in Fairfield. You are watching Fox10Phoenix.com. Welcome to the stream here. Just a couple days away from Christmas. Hope everyone is enjoying the holiday spirit as just days away from the holidays here. Obviously, politicians are still campaigning. They are still using this week to really drive their cause home. Because, folks, when January comes, it's going to be non-stop political season all the way to November. November, the Super Bowl of politics. November 2016, it's going to be something that will go down as probably one of the most legendary contests. Folks, we're all excited for you guys to be in the Fox10Phoenix.com stream. We appreciate everybody always coming out each day to really see the day's top headlines as well as the events that are going on around the country. And Fox 10 News Now is probably the best way to get your raw rallies, where we show it to you in full force. Folks, if you were part of this town hall and you could ask a question, what would you ask Hillary Clinton?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former Governor Tom and Christy Vilsac and our next president, Hillary Clinton.
Hi, welcome all of you. I'm Christy Vilsac. It's great to be back in Southeast Iowa, which is home for us. I've spent a lot of Friday nights in Fairfield, sometimes doing art, sometimes on the visitor side of the football field or the basketball court, playing against the Trojans, but it's good to be here tonight in this wonderful facility filled with lots of friends and people that we know and people here who are here to hear Hillary Clinton define her vision for the future. But I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm here and why I'm supporting her for president. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a grandma now, and I've been a teacher my entire life. I've been a public servant my entire professional career. And for me, it's always about the future and looking forward and who's going to have that vision for the future and who's going to be able to help us feel secure as we move forward. And I'm talking about economic security, I'm talking about global security, but I'm also talking about those things that wake us up all in the night, those things that may not seem very important, they may not be the things that are talked about in debates, but Hillary Clinton has been talking about them on the campaign trail. And a little while ago, we've been in Kyoto, we've been in Ottumwa, and Tom was talking about when she talks about substance abuse, which is near and dear to his heart because it's something that his mother overcame as an alcoholic. But Hillary's going to be talking tonight also about Alzheimer's, and that's something near and dear to my heart because it's something that my family has struggled with. When my stepmother was about my age, she began to have a personality change, and we didn't know anything about Alzheimer's and didn't really recognize the symptoms of it. She eventually began wandering away from home. My dad was still working, and he had the resources to make sure that she was taken care of, but there wasn't anybody who could really contain her. And so our whole family would be out driving around Mount Pleasant at night trying to find her and trying to bring her home, or she would come home with a caring friend or someone whose home she'd wandered into. And we eventually realized that we had to get some help because we couldn't do it by ourselves. And we're able to eventually convince my dad that she needed to be in a long-term care center in Mount Pleasant, which didn't work because they didn't have any the capability or the capacity to deal with someone with Alzheimer's. So we actually ended up taking her to Keosauqua. And I realized as I was coming here today that some of our really small towns around, even smaller than Fairfield, Winfield and Keosauqua, Donaldson, have care facilities that have been just wonderful for people who have family members like mine. My dad was, at 83 years old, still able to drive from Mount Pleasant to see her a couple times a week, but he had the resources to take care of her, and I think what would it be like to be a family who was undergoing the emotional turmoil that we were going through, but also didn't have the resources for that? So it's things like that that Hillary Clinton is out on the campaign talking about that are important, and it keeps us, the emotional energy and the time and resources it takes to deal with these issues, keep us from thinking about some of the other larger issues that we need to be dealing with as well. So I'm here because she makes me feel secure. And I would like to introduce my friend and your friend, Hillary Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. You know, thank you. That really means a lot to me. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm especially grateful that Tom and Christy are with me, and I thank her for sharing her story about her stepmom, and I see there's some other stories represented here with the little signs, end alls, end Alzheimer's. And I am so pleased to be able to talk for a few minutes about what I think we can do as a nation, and then to answer any questions on any issue that you might have. And I want to give a shout out to the overflow room in the auditorium. I stopped by to thank them, and I think they can hear, so I'm glad that they can be part of this. And I asked my staff in there that if they have any questions as we get to the question and answer, they can run in a question too, so that they can be part of the town hall. And I want to thank Mayor Malloy. Thank you so much for being here with us. And thank you for everything you have done to make your town so sustainable. And I love seeing the sign about, green building materials, shop here and all of that. That's a really important achievement. It is a few days before Christmas, and if you're anything like me, you probably have a lot to do. I sure do. But I'm delighted to be here on my 20th visit to Iowa as we end this year. And it's been incredibly fulfilling and meaningful to me, in part because what I've tried to do for the whole beginning into the middle of the campaign was actually listen to people and hear what was on your minds, because I wanted to be sure that what I was thinking about, what I would be proposing in this campaign, was not only about the big issues. How do we get the economy to work for everybody, not just those on the top? How do we make our country and the world safer, promoting peace, dealing with the dangers and threats that are posed by global terrorism? How do we really come to grips with so many of the challenges that we have? But as Christy said, I have been so moved by what Iowans have told me from my very first trip till today. I was in Kyoto earlier today, and we were doing a town hall, and people were asking about college and about guns. And then I called on a little girl, and she stood up and she said, "Can you do anything about bullying?" And I looked at her, and I could tell that this was not just an abstract question. And I said to her, "Well, is there something you want to say more about this?" And she said, "Yes, she said, I have asthma, and kids make fun of me, and they act like it's catching. It's not catching, And I just, oh my goodness, I just put my arms around her, and I thought, that's what keeps her and her family up at night. And so how do we, as a nation, begin once again to try to help people deal with the challenges that every one of us have? And so I'm here to talk about something really important, and I want to start with a question. How many of you have firsthand experience with Alzheimer's disease? Yeah. Well, that's not surprising. We have 5 million people who have been diagnosed. We know there are more who haven't been diagnosed or have been diagnosed incorrectly. And we know the number's only going to increase, so that there will be many, many, many more families and hands that will come up in years to come. And so my goal today is to really relate what I've heard from so many families that are taking care of a loved one with Alzheimer's, who tell me, as you heard from Christy, all the things they do to try to deal with the disease, like removing the knobs on the stove so that mom can't start a fire, or maybe sleeping on the floor outside dad's bedroom so that he can't get out when he feels compelled to try to escape, or leaving notes for your wife to remind her where she is and what day it is, being grateful for all the good days, and wanting so badly to give the best care that you can. Even with professional caregivers, this is a continuing burden financially and emotionally. If you have a job, you can't afford in many instances, to have someone come and stay for the amount of time that your job may consume, but you don't really have a choice. I met a young man in New Hampshire, Keith, who told me that his mom has Alzheimer's. She's 84 and he takes care of her, but he's a public school teacher. And he told me, you know, she took care of 5 children, and she took care of my dad and took care of my grandmother. Now it's my turn to take care of her. Well, on a teacher's salary, he can't afford to pay someone to watch her while he's at work. He can't afford an adult day program, so he brings his mom to work with him. And he's just praying that she will be able to continue to manage that experience every day, because he doesn't know what happens next. I've said many times that I'm running for president to deal with the big problems, but also with these problems that keep families up at night. And this is one that really fits into the category, along with others that I've heard Iowans talk to me about. Untreated mental health, untreated substance abuse, the rising cost of prescription drugs. There's so much that people are facing. So here's what I have become convinced of, that there is more we could be doing to deal with Alzheimer's. Consider this. Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death right now in our country. For every other of the top 10 causes of death, we have treatments, we have means of prevention, we even have some cures. But for Alzheimer's, we have no treatment, no prevention, and no cure. Alzheimer's is also one of the most expensive diseases in America. All told, it and related dementia drain more than $200 billion from our economy every year. I believe we should take a fraction of that and put it towards research. I became convinced of this when I was a senator and I co-chaired the Congressional Task Force on Alzheimer's. I talked to a lot of doctors and scientists about what it would take to rapidly accelerate progress toward a breakthrough. They all said the same thing. We need more research dollars. We need reliable streams of funding so we can follow promising leads even if they take a few years to pay off. And we need more brilliant minds working on this. And if we do all of that, we have a shot at making extraordinary progress. So here's what I am proposing that I will do as president, because I think we have to set some goals if we're going to try to confront this disease. First, I'll set a goal of finding ways to prevent and effectively treat Alzheimer's and make a cure possible by the year 2025. That's 10 years away. Leading scientists and researchers and clinicians tell me this is achievable if we reach for it, so that's what I intend to do. How? Well, secondly, I'll invest $2 billion every year into research for Alzheimer's and related disorders. Last year, we invested just over $500 million for a disease that costs many, many times more than that. Now, just last week, Congress agreed to add another $350 million in research money, and that's a great step in the right direction, but we need to go further. Third, I'll ensure a reliable stream of funding between now and 2025 so that researchers can chase these big ideas without worrying that their funding will disappear in a year. That's what happened when the Congress adopted what they call sequestration, where they stopped spending below a certain level indiscriminately. Good things were stopped as well as unproductive things that should have been stopped, perhaps. And many researchers had to stop their research midstream. Fourth, I'll appoint a top flight of researchers and health experts as a team to see this through, because it's going to take basic research, drug development, public-private partnerships, recruiting participants for clinical trials, and we need people who know how to do this with a project of this size and scale. I think if we make some breakthroughs, we're going to have a very broad impact. 2 out of every 3 Alzheimer's patients are women. Why? We need to find out. African Americans and Latinos are more likely to get it than whites. Why? We need to find out. Plus, research into Alzheimer's will help us fight a range of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's. We can get payoff on this in ways that right now we can't even imagine. At the same time, while we accelerate research, we should give more help to the caregivers who are doing everything they can to help their loved ones. I want to give tax relief to family members who are caring for ailing parents and grandparents. I think if you are doing that work, and we know that many families spend down their savings trying to do it, you deserve some help. Secondly, I've already announced that I want to give tax relief to family members who are caring for ailing parents and grandparents, and I want the hard work of those family caregivers to count towards Social Security. What happens now, and it's particularly affecting women, if you drop out of the workforce to care for a loved one and you lose that income, that lowers your Social Security payment because the average of your income that you've earned is the basis for Social Security. I think caregiving is really hard work, and the labor should count toward your Social Security benefits once you retire, just like any other job. And we also have to make sure that paid caregivers, the home care workers who come into your home, have enough training and sufficient financial support so that they're not turning over all the time. Just when you get used to somebody, they can't afford to do the work any longer. I'll also fight for Medicare to cover a comprehensive care planning session for patients and families following every single diagnosis of Alzheimer's or related dementias. Because what I've heard from families is you get that diagnosis and then you're sent home without any support, oftentimes not really knowing what to expect. And I think that is just a terrible mistake. We need to help families so that when they do face this, they have some guidance about the right choices. I'll work with Congress to reauthorize the Missing Alzheimer's Disease Patient Alert Program. That helps people find Alzheimer's patients who go wandering. And it's been a godsend to families. And I think it's important that it be a continuing godsend, so we want to get that reauthorized. And then I want to make sure that every Medicare recipient knows they're entitled to annual cognitive screenings. And that is something that if the earlier diagnose, even though we can't cure, the more we will know about how to help you and help your family deal with this. So for me, the bottom line is if we're the kind of nation that cares for citizens and supports families, who respects our elders and take care of our neighbors, then we've got work to do. And we need to do it better when it comes to diseases like Alzheimer's. It means the world to me to have so many families trust me with their stories. You know, it's an odd thing when you run for office, and particularly when you run for president, and you are out there meeting people, and sometimes you meet them for a minute or 5 or 10. Sometimes you have longer to sit and talk with them. And so often they will tell you things that they preface by saying, I've never talked to anybody else about this, but, and then they will tell me about what's happening in their family with Alzheimer's or what's happening with some other challenge. I think we need to be listening to one another and supporting one another. This campaign, particularly coming from the other side of the aisle with the Republican candidates, has gotten mean-spirited. And the rhetoric has been hateful towards so many people. We are better than that, and we need to stand up and demonstrate it all the time. So, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. So I'm looking forward to having your questions, and I never know where to start whenever the hands go up, and I never know what I'm going to hear. A Christmas, well, we'll get to that just a minute. Okay, this gentleman right here, and I think we have some microphones maybe in the, if not, here, come on up here. Okay.
Hi, my name is Darren Hamilton. I have 2 children. My daughter is 23 years old. She's a new teacher at Spencer, Iowa, teaching high school mathematics. My son is in the Marine Corps. He's stationed in California right now. He and a buddy of his left here last January to go, and his buddy is now going to be going to Afghanistan coming up in April. My son is fortunate enough that his job is going to keep him at his base in California, but I fear for the fact that being in the military and with the escalation that's going on in Syria and also in the Middle East in general is going to draw him into something that I feel is unnecessary. As the head of the State Department, you have intimate knowledge of what's going on there. What would you do to try to help de-escalate what is happening there in order to keep our men and women safe here in our own country?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And congratulations on your 2 adult children and the work and the service that they're providing. I think it's imperative that we move from a position of fear in the face of some of the challenges that we confront to one of thoughtfulness and resolve. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And what is the best way for the United States to lead in putting together coalitions of people who will stand with us and try to prevent and end threats like what we see from ISIS. I have laid out over a series of speeches what I believe we should do. There are 3 big categories. Number 1, we do have to help those who are trying to deprive ISIS of territory in the Middle East. And the reason why that's in our interest to help the Iraqi army, the Sunni Arabs, the Kurds, is because ungoverned space, as we found tragically back in 9/11 in Afghanistan, is often filled by terrorists who are not satisfied with just oppressing and killing the people in their immediate area, but who want to lash out at Europe, the United States, and do so in any way they can. So I have advocated that we lead the air coalition that we now are putting together with Europeans and Arab countries, and that we support, as we currently are right this minute in Ramadi in Iraq, trying to take back this territory from ISIS. But I will not support sending American combat troops to Syria and Iraq. And I won't support it for several reasons. First, I don't think we belong there doing that. I do agree that special forces have a role that can be played, and that trainers and enablers, especially to rebuild the Iraqi army, can be useful. But I think it would be a grave mistake to send our young men and women, and it would be primarily Army and Marines, if that were ever the decision, because I think that plays right into the hands of the terrorists. They would like nothing better than to somehow entice American ground troops back into the Middle East. And we're not going to do that. Now, what we have to do, though, as I said, to get rid of the territory that they hold from
Folks, it looks like that feed just went down. Let's see if they could repop it. Looks like they're having a little bit of difficulties feeding this.
ISIS.
There we go.
And we have to rebuild the Iraqi army, which we left in good shape and which former Prime Minister Maliki destroyed. We're doing all of that now. And I think that's the first part of an appropriate strategy. The second part is we have to work with allies and like-minded countries to disrupt the global terrorism network that runs from North Africa to South Asia, particularly into Afghanistan. We have to stop the flow of foreign fighters, of foreign money, and we have to combat them in cyberspace. The reason ISIS has become such a threat is because they are a sophisticated user of social media to propagandize, to recruit, to celebrate violence. And we have to do a better job, and I've asked our great tech companies to work with our government to try to think of the ways that we can disrupt and dismantle this infrastructure of terror. And then thirdly, we do have to make our own country safe. And that, again, requires us to coordinate as fully as we can between federal, state, local law enforcement, get the best possible intelligence from other countries, as well as from our own intelligence services, and try to anticipate and prevent attacks. Now, since I was a senator from New York on 9/11, I spent a lot of my time as a senator working with the officials in New York City and New York State, trying to make sure we were doing everything we could to get whatever information was useful to try to protect people. And the first line of defense are Muslim Americans. And make them feel like they have no place in America is not only shameful, it's dangerous. It cuts us off from information and communities that we should be working with. And so I think that there are many approaches we need to be taking. The final thing I would say about this is that I fully support Secretary Kerry's current work. You know, I started this work back in 2012, getting countries together to try to figure out how we would get on a political diplomatic track to end the civil war in Syria, because in many ways that is the continuing pouring of gasoline on a bonfire. Assad is responsible for killing at least 250,000 people and forcing millions of people out of their homes, making them refugees in camps or going to Europe seeking some safe space. So we have to have a strategy to deal with Assad, which we now look to have because of the United Nations Security Council agreeing to such an approach. At the same time, we have to go after ISIS. So if you hear anyone running for president who says, well, we have to do one or the other, or we have to prioritize, we must do both at the same time. We have to have a political, diplomatic effort on Assad and go after ISIS. So I'm happy to talk further about this because it's critically important. And, let me just say a word about Afghanistan, because you mentioned your son's friend. I am one of those who thinks that it would be a grave error for us, for our security, if Afghanistan were to be taken over again by the Taliban and by ISIS, because there's now, looks like there's beginning to be a presence of people flying the black flag of ISIS in Pakistan and in Afghanistan. And there is so much territory that can be usefully used by terrorists for hiding and escaping the Afghan army or anybody else. So I support the work we are doing to really stand behind the Afghan army. These are people who are incredibly brave. We have trained them, and they are going into battle. The latest figure I heard is that they're probably taking casualties of about 100 a day, trying to fight the Taliban and other foreign fighters who may be joining their ranks. And I know NATO is still there, the British and others, along with American troops. And what we are trying to do is to help the Afghan army with support they don't have, like air support, for example, logistical support, something that they don't really have a lot of experience with, so that they can be on the front lines trying to prevent the Taliban from taking over their territory. And I think we're going to have to look at this carefully and evaluate it. But as of right now, you have a government in Afghanistan that is trying very hard, a president who is, committed to keeping his country whole and safe, and who wants and needs our help. So I think we have to continue to provide that kind of help. Not combat, but support. Yes, this lady right there. Yes, here comes a microphone.
I would actually like to pass my question to my sister, who is a senior at the University of Minnesota in political science.
Okay, that's good.
Hi, thank you so much for coming down here. So, like my sister said, I am a senior at the U. And my sophomore year, I was trained as a sexual assault crisis counselor, and I volunteer since then on campus to help victims and also to institute a prevention education program to replace rape culture with consent culture. After I was trained my sophomore year, I came home. Fairfield is home for me, and I was able to volunteer with our victim services here. And one thing I noticed was not only was there a great lack of services for victims of sexual assault and relationship violence, there was also a great lack of access. Just to volunteer, I had to drive over an hour, and knowing that if I were in a situation in which I needed to get out, I would have to walk through cornfields, miles and miles of cornfields, was really disheartening to me. And we've talked a lot about increasing services today, and I was just wondering what you would do to increase services for victims in rural areas.
That's a very good question. Thank you so much. I have proposed several things that I would like to see done, and I did an event up at the University of Northern Iowa, which has quite an interesting and successful approach toward dealing with sexual assault and violence on campus, and they are very focused on this. But your question is really an important one, and I think there are a couple of things we have to do. First of all, we have to continue to train law enforcement, judicial officials, other people who are in any kind of helping role, like teachers, like social workers, like nurses and doctors, to understand that this is a serious problem, and it affects people everywhere. Just because you live in a beautiful town like Fairfield out in rural Iowa doesn't mean you're immune from what you have described. And I think people probably feel even more isolated when they're not on a campus, they're not in a workplace, or they're not in a city like Des Moines where there's many more opportunities for people to get help. And so I think that we need to work with states, and I have proposed that under the Violence Against Women Act and other laws, we do put more federal dollars into helping to train people and prepare more of a safety net, so that if you go into an emergency room anywhere in America, you can ask to talk to the sexual assault counselor, for example. And how do we get there? And maybe you wouldn't need somebody to be full-time in Fairfield, but you might have somebody who has that training and could be available. So we just have to think creatively about this, and if you have any specific thoughts later, please share them with me, because I think you asked a very important question because lots of times healthcare delivery is not as readily available in rural areas as it needs to be. Thank you. Yes, this gentleman right here. Yes.
Hillary, thank you. Please be sure to keep your delightful sense of humor when you reach the White House. On a more serious note, due to family ties, it could be said that you have at least an 8-year presidential advantage over other contenders. Will you be in a position to employ the extraordinary insight and articulate brilliance of your husband, Bill, when you become president?
Well, I am sure counting on it. I will say this. You know, somebody asked me the other day, if you're president, will your husband pick out the flowers in China for state dinners? And I said, no, I'll probably do that. But he will be a huge help in advising me. He's advised other of our presidents since he has left office. He's done missions for our presidents, both George W. Bush and President Obama. And I am thrilled to have somebody with his experience and his record of accomplishment, especially when it comes to the economy, which has to be front and center, since so many people are not feeling like they're getting ahead and that their incomes haven't picked up and they're still suffering the after effects of the Great Recession. So to have him be part of the counselors about how we get the economy working again, I think makes a whole lot of sense. And there may be some missions. I'll tell you a quick little story. When I was Secretary of State, we had 2 women journalists who were covering a story on the border of North Korea. And they inadvertently crossed the border. It was like a riverbed, and you know there wasn't a big flashing sign saying you cross here, you're in North Korea. They inadvertently did it, and North Korean guards came out of nowhere and seized them and took them hostages and put them on trial, one of these fake trials, and convicted them of spying, and then said that they would have to be in a prison for many years. Well, we were just really just out of, I was just crazy about this. It was such a terrible thing to have done. And we kept reaching out through diplomatic channels to the North Koreans, and we kept saying, this is even beyond what you usually do. These are 2 credentialed journalists. They don't deserve to be in jail. They are not spies, and we want them back. And we didn't get any response. And we kept pushing, and finally we got a message back, well, maybe if you send a high-level American to come get them. Okay. So we began putting forward high-level Americans. No. I mean, we offered Hollywood stars, we offered basketball players, Dennis Rodman, later went to North Korea. We were willing to send anybody. And then the North Koreans said, no, we want former President Clinton. I thought, oh, okay, this is a tough one. So, we at first said, well, we can't do that because we didn't want it to look like there was a conflict or anything. And finally, they wouldn't budge. So I had a long meeting with President Obama, and I said, I want to get these 2 young women back. I think they are under great duress, and if they'll take Bill, he would be willing to go. And so, President Obama and I said, well, we agreed. Okay, so I asked my husband if he'd be willing to go, and he said, well, yeah, what am I supposed to do? I said, well, you're supposed to go over and you're supposed to bring these 2 young journalists back. And you can't be seen smiling. That's really hard for my husband. He said, they're going to try to set up all these photo ops where it was the prior head, Kim, not the current one, Kim Jong-un is the son, it was his father. I said, you can't. And so literally we had to practice him not smiling. And if you ever see pictures, if you go on the internet, there are pictures of him standing there, looking very stoic, not smiling. But we got the young women back, he was able to bring them back. And sometimes it's only possible to accomplish a diplomatic objective by sending someone who the other side will deal with. And so on all kinds of issues, I'm going to be very open to seeking my husband's advice and, where appropriate, using him as I would with any other living ex-president to do something on behalf of our country. So, thank you. Oh my goodness, so many hands. It's this lady in black way back there. Yes, yes.
Thank you, future Madam President. It's a great honor for you to be here in Fairfield. I just love you to death. My question is about mass incarceration, and probably leads into drug addiction. And we have the highest mass incarceration, correct me if I'm wrong, in the U.S. than probably any other country. And it's kind of a near and dear thing to me because I've had a couple members that had to go to prison for using, and it's going to make me cry here in a minute, but what is your policy, what is your approach to reducing the mass incarceration in this country?
Well, thank you. Thank you for caring about this issue and asking about it. I agree with you. We have 5% of the world's population, and we have 25% of the world's prisoners, and we have 1/3 of the world's women prisoners. So we clearly have a disproportionate number of people currently in prison. And there are a couple of proposals that I have made. One is that you refer to low-level, nonviolent offenses. We have sent way too many people to prison for those kinds of offenses. And we have to be willing to take a hard look at our criminal justice system while we also look at incarceration. Because there's just no longer any dispute. If you are an African American man and you do the same thing as a white man, you are far more likely to be arrested, charged, convicted, and imprisoned. So we have to take a very close look at how our criminal justice system works in the first instance. And then we have to take a hard look at disparities in sentencing and in minimum sentences that are too long for the crime. I also believe one of our biggest problems, and you mentioned it in passing, we have a lot of people in jail and in prison for addiction and mental health problems. We have shut facilities that would have otherwise taken care of people. And when you have nowhere to put them, people put them in jail. Someone said recently that the biggest mental health institutes now in America are our jails and our prisons. And states are no longer doing what they should do. I was very critical of your governor when he closed 2 out of the 4 mental health facilities that Iowa had. And when people were discharged, they often had nowhere to go. Some of them ended up in nursing homes, not an appropriate place. It was like what Christy was saying about an Alzheimer's patient in the wrong kind of nursing home. Well, imagine someone with serious mental health problems in a nursing home that is not equipped to handle that. So we have to address the incarceration and criminal justice issues hand in hand with mental health and addiction issues. And I want to give you a quick description of a program that I am very interested in seeing replicated around our country. I was in Reno, Nevada, and I was asked to go visit a program called Crossroads. It was a program started by the Sheriff's Office and Catholic Charities. The Sheriff's Office realized that they were arresting the same people who were drunk on the streets all the time. Many of them homeless, and they were throwing them in jail, or if they were really sick, they were having an ambulance pick them up, take them to the emergency room. They'd be there a day or two. They'd be discharged. 30 days later, they'd be back on the streets. So the sheriff, and I really was impressed by their thinking on this, said, hey, there's got to be a better way. It costs a lot of money to imprison somebody. So Catholic Charities came up and said, we're thinking the same thing. Why don't we open a facility that has rooms where people can stay, where they will be monitored closely, where they will be given, services, counseling, where they will be tested to make sure that they haven't gone back to drinking. And let's see what happens. So I went to visit, and I met about 100 people. Now, the program's been going for 4 years. I met 100 people who have, gone through the program. And the sheriff's office said to me, the best thing is, of course, these people, some of whom now have jobs. And, one man said, it's the first time I've been sober in 40 years. I'm going to make something of it. And then the sheriff said, and the next best thing is we saved $4 million the first year. $4 million because people were in a low-cost facility instead of a jail, or they were not in an emergency room or in an ICU or in a hospital bed. So we've got to think differently about this. So it's not, the first step has to be change those laws that are sending too many people to prison for too long for low-level nonviolent offenses. But then we've got to have more support and facilities on the outside to provide job training and some kind of affordable housing and support. Because if all we do is just open up the prisons and say, hey, guess what? You're now free. What are they going to do? What are people going to do? So we need serious thought, and I'm looking for a state or two who will really take this on and try to think about how you put all the pieces together, doing something like the model that I saw in Reno. So thank you for asking. Very important question. Yes. Are you from the overflow?
I am from the overflow.
Oh, good.
Yes.
We have an overflow person.
So you just answered my question. So now I'm going to ask a different question. The woman next to me, her name is Laura Bordeaux, asked me to ask you what your position is on GMOs.
On GMOs, I'll tell you. I am very much in favor of what Secretary Vilsac is trying to do. What he's trying to do as the Secretary of Agriculture for our country is to get a labeling program started and try to get everybody at the table to agree on what we need to do here, because it will be. Did they pass? They didn't pass the preemption, did they, Tom? If you followed what went on the last week in Congress, very powerful agriculture forces were trying to pass a law, get it into the omnibus, to prohibit states from passing laws requiring labeling. Now, that did not pass. So that was a good development for Secretary Vilsac, because what he's trying to do is get states and advocates and agricultural interests all at the same table to say, look, there's a right to know. You should be able to have the information that you then make your judgment about. Now, I will add this, because I think this is fair to add. There's also a right to have the best science. What is the science that is really at work here? Because there are a lot of advocates who fight hunger in Africa who are desperate for GMO seeds. because they are drought resistant and they don't know how else they're going to get enough yield to feed people. So we need, and I think Secretary Vilsac is exactly the right person to do this, to put together whatever kind of overall plan we can have that will give us information we deserve to know and get more science done that is independent science that we can count on, that doesn't get done by some institution, company, whatever, that has a stake in the outcome. So that's what I am supporting, and I thank Tom for being part of the solution. So, yes, gentleman right there. Yes, 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 yes. Well, here's a microphone that was actually coming to you. I can see you're very eager.
Good to meet you, Hillary. As you mentioned in the beginning, Fairfield is a very progressive town, and a lot of people I know are voting for Bernie, of course, because he is pretty far to the left, and some of them say, well, he's kind of pulling Hillary to the left, and after she gets the nomination, if she does, she'll drift more to the right. A lot of these people were very disappointed in Obama because they felt like he said certain things to get elected and then wasn't as progressive as they would have liked him to be. And some of these people, friends of mine, are saying, well, I won't even vote if Bernie doesn't get it because I'll be disappointed again. So what would you say to those people and to inspire them to vote? Because, boy, the alternative is we don't want to think about it. And, either one of you would be great, but those people are not in your camp as yet.
Well, I hope they will be. And certainly, I will continue to speak out on what I believe and what I am proposing so that voters have a chance to know what the choices are. And, on a lot of issues, I think that I have staked out a progressive set of policies that go way back to my time even before I was in elected office, working on behalf of the Children's Defense Fund and legal services and so much that I've done. And as I said in the first debate, I'm a progressive who likes to get things done. And so what I would say to your friends is I am sorry that they're disappointed now with President Obama. I don't think President Obama gets the credit he deserves for doing so much for our country. And I think it's very dangerous to look at the alternatives and believe that your staying home is a responsible choice. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that anybody who would support Senator Sanders would want to see any of the Republicans be elected president of the United States. And I happen to believe I'm a better candidate to win, to be the next Democratic president, and to pursue a progressive agenda. But I respect anyone who is supporting, one of my Democratic opponents. But I would just ask that when this nomination is wrapped up, that they come and join with us to make sure that we don't turn the White House back over to the Republicans, because on every issue I can imagine that anybody who would be participating in the caucuses for one of the Democrats cares about, there is no doubt how much better any of us would be than any of them. And so I hope you will have some serious conversations with your friends. And, you know, I respect people who have strong political feelings. I wish more Americans had strong political feelings. I wish more Americans would turn out to caucus, turn out for primaries, turn out to vote in the general election. But I don't have any sympathy for people who then decide that they are going to pass after they've expressed themselves because whoever the alternative is not pure enough, is not, you know, able to fulfill the hopes that we all have. Politics is hard. And it is something that is not for the weak of heart. And supporters need to understand that in our country, too often, Democrats and progressives get disillusioned and disappointed, which is exactly what Republicans and the right want you to be. They would be thrilled if people who are progressive decide to stay home. That would be a gift that they would be hoping to pocket, and they will do everything they can to try to make that happen. You know, negative advertising, perfected by the Republicans, is aimed at doing one of two things: convincing voters that a candidate you might kind of think is okay really isn't. You know, turning that person into a sort of alien, even making stuff up about the person, or so discouraging people by the negativity of the campaign that folks say, I don't want anything to do with these politicians. Voting just encourages them. I'm not going to vote, you know, being very high-minded about it. That thrills the Koch brothers. I mean, they do high fives when they see polling like that. So I'm hoping that, you know, your friends will take a broader look at what's at stake. Because if you go down the list of everything that's at stake, from the economy to security to human rights, civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, voter rights, immigrant rights, you go down the list, I can't even imagine what our country would be like if on, you know, January 20th, 2017, one of those guys running for the office on the other side finds himself in the Oval Office. That would be terrifying. So we're not going to let that happen, are we? No, no. Yes.
Hello, Hillary. I lost my husband in May to a dementia called frontal temporal dementia. He was 53. We have 5 beautiful, productive, active children. 2 are in college. I'll have 1 graduate high school this year, another 1 in high school and 1 in middle school. And we have been through hell and back with this disease. The physical journey ended when Ben passed away in May, but the journey will never end for any of us. You mentioned earlier about resources, and I just want to take a sincere moment to thank you for bringing your attention to this tragedy that so many millions of people are living with every day. And, you know, I was able to survive it, and the kids are surviving it. Ben left behind a very successful business. I am now CEO and president of Steppensmeyer Welding, and you know, 30-year successful business. When I leave here, I'm going to go over to Ideal Solar Energy here in town, and I'm going to thank those folks for getting us all fixed up with a 3.5-acre solar field behind the business. It's a success story. I suppose that's what you'd call it, but it's tragic. And sincerely thank you for your attention to this disease.
I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. one thing I want you to know is that I spoke with probably the 4 leading researchers who are if we put the money into Alzheimer's that we otherwise would put into some additional military asset, just think of the lives it would save and the potential that it would perhaps create for dealing with tragedies like yours. So I thank you for speaking out and for sharing your story. Thank you very much. Yes.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the announcement of your new grandchild. Yes, congratulations. They're fantastic. But my question is about the EPA. To make it stronger, to weaken it? And what are your thoughts of the France summit? Do you think President Obama went too far, didn't go far enough? And the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico and what we're going to do to clean it up.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, I personally was very satisfied at the agreement in Paris. 195 countries agreeing finally to do something on climate change was a significant action. Now, obviously, like anything else, we have to monitor it. We have to President Obama and I went to the climate conference in 2009 in Copenhagen, and we could not get the Chinese or the Indians or the Brazilians or the developing countries to agree to anything, including meeting with us. We were trying to meet with them in order to get them pinned down on what we thought were the beginning steps that had to be taken. And, the president and I were sending out scouts in this huge convention center in Denmark saying, see if you see the Chinese or the Indians anywhere. And we were calling, of course, to say we want to meet with you, and we were being told, well, it was like a high school conversation when, it used to be when kids used phones instead of texting, and you'd get a call and somebody would say, can you go out Saturday? No, I have something else to do. How about in a month? Well, no, I don't have anything else. I have something else to do. Well, that's what they were telling us. Well, we were on the way to the airport. We're not there. We're gone. And so we sent these people out, and they came back and they said they are in a secret meeting in a far corner of the convention center. I looked at the president. He looked at me, and off we went, sort of marching toward the meeting. And we got to the bottom of the stairs. The meeting was up this flight of stairs, and you had Chinese security forces there. So we started to climb the stairs, and they're yelling at us in Chinese, like, I guess they were saying no, no, no. And we kind of brushed past them, and we got to where the room was, and it was curtained, so you couldn't see in that they were there. And so, the Chinese guards were kind of standing in the way, and the president pushed past them, and then they put up their arms again, and I went under them, and we got into the room, and the president says, we've been looking all over for you. And then we just pulled up chairs and we sat down. And the reason why I tell you this is that there wasn't an agreement. We had an agreement, but when you work through the UN, you have to have unanimous agreements. And we got really close, but a couple of countries were just refusing to sign on. But we got, for the first time, an agreement by China to begin to actually count its carbon in a different way and begin to try to, set a stage. And then the other agreements that came after that. So this work has been painstaking, difficult work. And what the president did by taking executive actions through the EPA and also through the Department of Transportation on greater mileage was critically important, because if countries don't believe the United States is going to do it, that gives them a whole new set of excuses. So the president went to Paris in a strong position, except for the Republicans in Congress. You know, actually, most Republicans now believe climate change is real and it is caused by human activity. But because of the stranglehold that fossil fuel in the industry has on Republicans in Congress, they don't admit it. And so every time you see the Republican candidates asked about climate change, you know they all say the same thing. They say, I don't know, I'm not a scientist. And my response is, go talk to one and actually listen to what they tell you. But the fact is, I don't think there is any organized political party anywhere in the world that no longer believes, except the Republicans in the United States Congress. So the president had to get a deal that would move this forward, but would not go to the Senate for approval. You know, when my husband and Al Gore did the Kyoto Treaty, you know, and Vice President Gore deserves an enormous thank you for the work he's done all these years. Literally, the vice president was flying back from Japan, and the Senate convened and voted against it before it had even been submitted. So what the president accomplished is huge in terms of laying out a framework, but not running afoul of the terrible extremism, partisanship that the Republicans still, unfortunately, use toward this issue. So yes, I believe in a strong EPA, absolutely. And look, we only have one planet. There is no planet B. When people tell you, you know, we can't do this, we can't, what is their planet B? What is it that they would do that would keep the air clean for kids to breathe? I don't know anything about the little girl I met in Kyoto who has asthma, but I'll tell you, in New York City, when I was senator, I spent a lot of time working to help kids with asthma because of the pollution. They were living near places, institutions that were pumping stuff into the air. It was a real problem. So we've got to protect our air and our water and do it in a sensible way. I'm not saying we go overboard, but there's so much we have to do and so much that I think we should do for the next generation. And thank you for mentioning my great news, an early Christmas gift that my daughter and husband are giving us. How many members of the grandparent club do we have here? Oh yes, oh yes. I had no idea, really. I mean, I was excited about it, but it's beyond what I ever dreamed of. And of course, when you have the most brilliant, amazing 15-month-old grandchild, makes it even better. I know they're giving me the signal here to move on. Do we have time for maybe one more? What one more? Okay. Well, here's a young man, and okay, maybe I might take two, but this young man here. Okay.
Hello, Madam Secretary, President. Hey, I'm Zach. I am a junior here in Iowa, or in Burlington, and you know the question. Somebody asked the question before about prisons and how a black man is much more likely to be put in prison than maybe his white counterpart. But this happens on the opposite side of the spectrum, with education. And you'll see that, and that's why we have this thing called, affirmative action to help minorities like myself get out of kind of like, almost like the bottom part of the people, really. And many people don't realize this, but being a minority myself, I will work sometimes twice as hard as somebody to achieve the same thing. And what's your plan on helping people like me try to rise up from, I guess, the depths, really.
Good for you. Good for you. You know, I started my professional career working for the Children's Defense Fund, and it is still the main reason for my public activity, because I think every kid in America should have the chance to fulfill his or her God-given potential. I think that's our mission, that is what we have to do. And for me, I always felt like I had those chances because of my family and because of what they provided for me, but I know that other kids don't. And I learned that from my mother, because she was neglected and abandoned by her parents and sent to live with grandparents who didn't want her, and ended up working as a housemaid in somebody else's home by the time she was 14. So I know what a struggle it is to believe that you have, though you have a champion, you have somebody who's really going to go and work for you. And hopefully you have it in your family, but if not, you have it in your school, you have it in a church, you have it somewhere, somebody who will be there for you. So I believe that it's important to have an education system that really does do the very best it can to give young people like yourself whatever chance you need. And I will do what I can, starting with early childhood education. Preschool is critical for a lot of kids to get off to a good start. And in elementary and secondary education, you know, I'll just say this, because we could talk about this all night. I believe that we ought to be doing more listening to our teachers about what actually works to give more kids that support that they need to be successful. And we have to quit following fads, and we have to look at what really makes a difference in the learning experiences of kids. And one of the things that has happened, I don't have any way of knowing about your school, but a lot of schools that are in poor areas that serve a lot of poor kids have cut out everything. There's no art, there's no music, there's no extracurricular activities. Oftentimes there's no physical activity, except if you're on the football team or the basketball team, and a lot of those have been cut out from poor schools. That is depriving kids of the opportunity to use the talents they might have to discover what they're good at, and then to actually go even further. So I want a holistic education available for kids so that they can explore all of this. And then I do believe that if you're going to college, it needs to be affordable. And it's not right now for too many families in our country. And so I have a plan that I call the New College Compact to try to make it possible for every young person to go to a 4-year college or university debt-free. And I have laid out on my website, hillaryclinton.com, and I want community college to be free. It's like those 2 years are no longer a luxury, they're a necessity. So there's a lot we're going to do to try to help you. Thank you all.
All right, folks, that was the Hillary Clinton Town Hall in Iowa, Fairfield to be exact. Hope everyone is having a great evening. My name is Mike Paish. What we will be doing is shutting down the stream for just a little bit. We will come back on at 6:30 for you, just under an hour. So be on the lookout. We'll have your top stories, as well as I'll be showing you the full Ted Cruz event that happened earlier today that we didn't get to show you. So be on the lookout for that, folks. Less than an hour. We'll start you guys up at 6:30 again. Hope everyone is having a great evening.